Day 51, and you are still on this journey with us. How cool is it that your new normal, includes daily reading of the Bible? You know that man will not live by bread alone, but every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. Luke chapter 7. Luke here shows us the grace of God extended to Gentiles. Firstly, a centurion who has a sick servant. He sends some Jewish leaders to speak to Jesus on his behalf. And then he says, Jesus, you don't even need to come. He sends more servants. Just when you speak a word, things change. There are so many miracles which Jesus did that are not included in the Gospels. We only have a handful of them, and every one of them are there to teach us something. I believe this miracle is recorded to teach us something about faith. This man understood that all it needed to change his situation was a word from God. That is true faith. When God speaks, things change. And then the craziest, I think, of all of the miracles that Jesus did, maybe not the most significant, but the craziest. Jesus goes to a funeral, the only funeral in all of Scripture where we see Jesus. And this funeral turns out different because the man in the casket sits up. Jesus raises the dead to life, and mourning is turned into dancing. And that must have been just the crazy funeral ever. John the Baptist sends messengers to Jesus. Jesus, are you the one? Because John the Baptist, he's got a box. He's got an expectation of who God should be and who the Messiah should be to set people free and the Jewish people free from the Roman oppression. And Jesus says, tell John, the blind see, the lame walk, the lepers are cleansed, the deaf hear, the dead, like the young man, they're raised to life, and the poor have the gospel preached to them. Jesus really is the Messiah, is what he's saying. And then he says, blessed is he who is not offended because of me. It is so important that you and I do not try and fit Jesus into a box, that we don't define who God must be and get upset when God isn't who we want him to be. But we allow God to be who God is, and we adjust and change our understanding of God for who he is, and don't expect him to conform to our desires and our expectations and our box. And then there's a sinful woman washing Jesus' feet. Pharisee has invited Jesus over for dinner. Jesus is cool. I like invitations. I'll come. They have a nice meal together. He uses this as a teaching moment to show us that great love comes from great forgiveness, that the more we realize how much we have been forgiven of, how much the immensity of our sin is that has been washed away, that feeds and sustains our love and our devotion.